driving an SATX. Just turned off Broadway onto Austin Highway. Notice this Mini Cooper waiting for a clearing to go. Again, I said waiting for a clearing. A clearing means clear vehicles, bikes, pedestrians, anything that would cause the intersection to not be considered clear. I'm in the second lane here, and the driver sees this as a clearing to go. Then it awkwardly comes out almost into my lane. This is when I realize there's a pedestrian pulling a cart right here at the corner. This really was not the best time to go. A little more patience for a lot more safety, please. Approaching this intersection, the crossing traffic has a stop sign, and I don't. Now, in all fairness, these vehicles here are creating a blind spot for cars stopping at this stop sign. In fact, this one's parked too close to the corner, which might be a violation. So the car that's pulled up to the stop sign really doesn't have an opportunity to see me until this point here. Now, since this was the first point the driver was able to see this far, they by no means should have been hitting the gas across the intersection yet. They didn't know whether or not a car was coming. The proof to that is I'm right here, now in the driver's line of sight, and they don't seem to notice me until here. That's very dangerous and just as foolish. This was a nice night until I was reminded why I created this channel. This car up here moves over to get around this car, which then makes me think. I know I'm eventually going to pass that car, so I assess the situation, and I see that there's this car coming up in the passing lane here. So I'm going to allow this car to continue past me, then move over and pass that car. Notice as the car passes me, I'm doing about 68 miles per hour. I gently speed up as I'm preparing to get into the passing lane and get around this car. All is well until we get to the point at which this car is supposed to pass. Suddenly, this car is no longer interested in passing and just wants to drive Miss Daisy in the passing lane. Never mind that once you pass, you're supposed to move over and get the hell out of the way. On this early morning drive, I came to a stoplight, and the guy that was driving this Jeep decided he wanted to get a good look at the back of my headrest. Either that or this guy enjoys sniffing exhaust. Because other than that, there's no reason to get stupidly close to someone sitting at a light, you flippin' jackass.
Get a good look, Costanza?
The idea of a parking lot is that spaces were designed so that as many cars can fit into the lot with equal space for their cars. When one individual is selfish and low enough to not give a shit that their vehicle is within the lines and they take up more than one space, this defeats the whole purpose of the parking lines. I mean, why don't we just pull in and park at whatever spot at whatever angle we want? Why? Because that would be stupid, that's why. Just as stupid as when someone parks their vehicle like this. I mean, really, you pulled in and you had to know before you got off by the horrible angle you took that you were not straight. But maybe you're so dense that you didn't know that. And so when you got off your truck, you looked at how you parked, looked at the other cars, and looked at the lines. And this is what you found acceptable? Look, I get that the truck is a little bigger than most other vehicles, but you have to be able to park a vehicle to be able to drive it around. Pulling in front first is the easiest way. If you can't do that, get yourself a compact car, my friend. When you come up to a light and you plan on turning, you want to be mindful of pedestrians. Hitting one of them is not like hitting a car. You can kill someone a lot easier. This car is wanting to turn right. When the light turns green, they start to go. But this pedestrian gets a light to walk. The driver is too impatient and damn near bullies the person across the street. Not smart, not legal, and just plain disrespectful. You ever see a cat run out into the street just as you're approaching? Cats always seem to think the very last minute is the best opportunity to dart out. This is one of many, many reasons cats are not allowed to drive. So let's try not to drive the way a cat probably would, like this car here. This car is driving in the far right lane, just as I am. Now I'm here because my exit's coming up, and I'm willing to allow room for entering cars if I need to. This car, not so much. This car will eventually get out of this lane, but is in here for now. Now, we bring it to this point here. From this point, it's clear to all of us that this ramp is entering and the cars are going to end up in this lane. This car should start working on moving over if this is an issue. And in a moment, we're going to see that it is an issue. But at this point, there's now room to move over and avoid the entering vehicle. But they don't move over. Now, the entering car has a blinker on, and it could not be any more obvious that they're here and about to get in front of this car. And there's still room to move over. The car puts on a blinker, but still does not move over. Then, This Jeep notices the blinker and lets off the gas as a courtesy to allow the car to get over, since the signal is giving everyone the indication that he wants to do so. The Jeep kind of hangs back for a moment, but then it seems that the car maybe just put the blinker on by accident or something, because it's not making a move to get over right now while there is room. The Jeep picks up again, and as it gets closer and closer, the car finally moves out now that there's very little room. Don't drive like a cat would. Alright, San Antonio, here we are again with another passing lane challenge driver. I mean, I don't even know what to say anymore. Why is this still a thing? This is not how you do this. Notice the Dodge Journey is just in everyone's way, killing the flow of traffic. Slower traffic, keep to the right for the love of... Sitting on tracks is not only a bad idea, it's a violation. There are signs posted that tell you not to sit on the tracks. Here's the thing. While you wait for a light, sitting here on the tracks is not going to get you to your destination any sooner than if you wait a few feet back here, out of harm's way, just in case anybody thought that was the case. I wonder how lonely it must feel for the drivers who are driving around like they're the only ones on the road. They drive around like it's just them and there's no reason to look out for other drivers. The driver of this Toyota is entering the highway and has already decided that they're going to move all the way over to the left, and has decided there's no reason to look and make sure that there are no cars in the way on the busiest highway in this part of the state. So here they come with wet driving conditions, moving over without any worries and without realizing that I'm right here. Then, no apology, because not too many drivers around here are adult enough to do that when they F up. Then decides to practice full-on safety when moving over into the last lane, the passing lane, which they did with nobody to pass for miles. Parking is part of driving. If you drive somewhere, once you get there, you will have to park. And once you're ready to leave, you'll have to pull out of that parking spot again. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If you can't park, you can't drive. Now, I was taught to drive by some old schoolers who would say in their own opinion, that means pulling in front first, backing in less than 2 tries if you're not pulling a trailer, and parallel parking. Now, I'm sort of old school, but not as much, so I won't hold everyone to being able to parallel park, even though I had to do that successfully to get my license. But you at least have to be able to pull in evenly to a spot and be able to back out without an issue. I'm not making fun of anyone here. I think if this is this much trouble for you, you might be posing a risk to the rest of the drivers on the road. And one more thing, don't pull out of your parking spot until you're fully ready to leave. Again, there are other drivers out here, and someone might be waiting for your damn spot. Here we are at this famous intersection again. The intersection that sheds light on the selfish assholes of the road. Some of you who watch the compilations regularly probably don't need this reminder, but for everyone else, this is what is allowed in these 2 lanes. The left lane is the only one that's allowed to turn, and the light here changes pretty quickly, so that's why there's such a long line there. Almost every light cycle, you get a couple of selfish little shits that refuse to wait in line and decide to turn from this lane despite the fact that it's a violation. The worst thing about it is these lights don't always change at the same time. If this arrow turns green while this light turns green, then they're going to be turning with the other cars and have to fight for the lane once they get there. But if the arrow doesn't change when this light turns green, that means the oncoming traffic also has a green light. So this can be dangerous because these cars don't care enough that they're violating the law here. So do you really think they make sure to care that there aren't any cars coming? In this case, there were none, so they got lucky. But they're still little shits for cutting ahead. And one day, this is going to be an ugly scene, and it'll all stem from simple stupidity like this. Stupid drivers outnumber the rest of us when driving an SATX.